An important characteristic of land is that it may be modified or improved at any given time. Depending on its type, an improvement may increase the value of real estate greatly. All of the following would be considered improvements to the land, except buildings are improvements on the land. Okay, buildings are improvements on the land, right? Sewers, sidewalks, roads are to the land. Those are public. Buildings are private, right? So that is the difference between the two. Okay. All right. Number 4, a trade fixture is considered personal property, personalty. Remember, we can, it is personal property until we, the lease expires, and then it belongs to the landlord. It becomes a real property of the landlord, but we can get it out of there prior to that. Number 5, which of the following is considered personal property? And the answer would be patio furniture, simply by method of attachment, right? Patio furniture is not attached, but fireplaces, masonry fireplaces, window awnings, bathtubs, those are there permanently, all right? And they would pass the IRMA test. So patio furniture would not be there. Number 6, a business owner rents an empty building to use as an ice cream parlor. The tenant subsequently installs a large freezer units and several service counters. These additions, C, can be legally removed by the tenant at the termination of the lease, okay? But it has to be before the last day of the lease, all right? These are trade fixtures, okay? Number 7, if the owner of the dominant tenement becomes the owner of the servient tenement and merges the two properties, the easement, what, is terminated, right? Do we need the easement if I own both pieces of property? By nature, it's not an easement anymore. So this is terminated. All right. Number 8, a homeowner acquired the ownership of land that was deposited by a river running through her property by accretion. Remember that little imperceptible kind of sand and dirt that runs, that gets pushed by water? Sand dunes are a great example of that, but anything that pushes up, that becomes your property. That is accretion. Accretion. Mm-hmm. All of these others, reliction is when it dries up, avulsion is when it's torn away, succession doesn't have anything to do with it, and accretion is the right one. Number 9. A decedent left a will giving the neighbor the right to use a well on the decedent's land as long as the neighbor was alive. The neighbor's interest in the property is called an easement in gross. An easement in gross, okay? And this differs from a license, is that it's not revoked as long as the neighbor was alive. He gave him a lifetime, right? He gave him a lifetime easement in gross. It's not tentative. Number 10, the most all-inclusive type of real property ownership is a fees. Okay, let me do this one again. The ownership rights to real estate include all of the following except, all right, except navigable rivers running through the property. Who owns the navigable rivers? The state, right? The people. So navigable rivers. And then question number 11, the most all-inclusive type of real property ownership is a fee simple estate. Fee simple, it is no restrictions. In this particular case, it's inheritable. I can leave it to my heirs. All right. Number 12, a woman conveys a life estate to her son-in-law and stipulates that upon his death, the estate will pass to her grandson. The grandson is an estate in remainder. The grandson is the remainder man, or the remainder person if it was a female. Okay. Number 13, the severalty sole owner of a parcel of land sells it. The buyer insists that the owner's wife also sign the deed. The purpose of obtaining the wife's signature is to terminate any rights that the wife may have to the property, right? She could have what? A marital estate, right? If she didn't agree, she could be complaining about a marital estate. So in that particular case, she might have some rights to that. In this particular case, we want to make sure she didn't have to sign it. Okay, she didn't have to sign it, and it's not none of these others make any sense. Okay, the only one that really makes any sense is that we want to make sure that the wife is not disputing the sale. So for any reason that she may have, okay, if the wife, let's just use an example. The wife purchases the property and puts it in joint tenants in common, or joint tenants with rights of survivorship, right? Now the husband decides that he's going to sell that property. Well, whose money was that to begin with? Wasn't his, right? It was hers. So they want to make sure that you have both, that she's okay with it, right? Now the others, courtesy rights, doesn't have anything to do with this. Provide evidence that the owner is married. What the heck does that mean? Or subordinate the wife's signature to the buyer. No, it doesn't. Those mean nothing to this, all right? So the only one that really makes a lick of sense is the fact that it's terminates any rights that she may have. Okay. Number 14, emblements are the same thing as fructus industrialis. Those are crops, annual crops. As a tenant farmer, I can come back and get them if the owner sells that farm. Only once, I can come back and get them. All right. If I'm the owner and I've planted and I'm the farmer, I don't get them. They go to the new buyer. All right. So those are emblements, fruits of the land. Okay. Number 15. A North Carolina seller had signed a security agreement to finance a new heat pump prior to listing his house. Since at the time of closing, the seller had only 10 payments left. D, the heat pump remains personalty and can be removed if not paid in full. Excuse me. Now remember that if we have a loan out on the property and we sell the property, that's got to be paid at the closing. If not, they can repossess it if the seller stops paying. All right. So that is still personal property. And make sure it's paid. And that's what your attorney's job is, to make sure that that is correct. That's what your title insurance would cover too, something of that nature. If it gets missed, shouldn't get missed. Number 16. A developer owns 50 acres of land that she wishes to subdivide into individual residential lots. The developer grants access to the individual parcels so that the utility companies can install their lines and pipes. Each utility company has been granted an easement in gross. An easement in gross. Mm-hmm. A recent patio addition extends 1 foot over the property line onto the lot next door. This is best described as an encroachment, right? Which is also an encumbrance, but it is an encroachment best described. All right. Number 18, which of the following is a lien on real estate? And a recorded deed of trust, right? That's your mortgage. That's a recorded deed of trust. All right, that is a lien on your real estate. All right. The rest of these are not particularly liens. They could be encumbrances, though. All right. Number 19. What will the amount of tax payable where the property is assessed? What will the amount of tax payable where the property's assessed value is $185,000 and the tax rate is 40 mils in a community which is an equalization factor of 110%. Okay, so let's look at this one, all right? Because this is not a bad problem. I like this problem, actually. All right. So we have a property, we have an equalization factor. So that means if our property is 185,000, if I have an equalization factor, I need to multiply it by 110%. So that means that we're going to bump it up to 110%. All right, times 1.10 All right, whatever that number is going to give us. Let me get my calculator here. On 185, 123 times 1.1. So 203,500. Okay, now we have 40 mils. 40 mils is 0.040, right? 0.040, 203,500 times 0.040, 0.040, 8140, 8140. All right, so an equalization factor means that we have to move this up or down. We have to move the value. We're going to change it. Remember I said that we can redo every 4 years, we can do a horizontal reassessment, okay? Horizontal reassessment says that we can take this, everybody's value, and just move it up. That's an equalization factor, all right? We're gonna move it up 5%, move it up 10%, whatever we're gonna do. And then every 8 years, we have what's called the octennial, which says that we must go out and revisit this, okay? There you go. So that's what that one is. A meets and bounds legal description, C, must commence and finish at the same identifiable point, right? We're going to fill in the squares. We're going to go from the Murray's Rock to the tree to the stump. We're going to go south of the stump, west to the other tree, and then back up north to Murray's Rock. We're going to close the whole section. Has to be done that way. All right, what's a lot? A lot with a depth of 80 feet and an area of 4,800 square feet was sold for $350 per front foot. What was the total sales price? Well, if we have a lot that is 80 feet deep, what we're going to do is we're going to divide that into 4,800, right? So we have 4,800. Something times 80 is going to give me 4,800. And if this is the depth, the width is going to be that number. So we're going to divide that by 80. So I have 60 feet of frontage. 60 feet of frontage is going to give at times 350. 60 times 350. And that should be 21,000. 21,000, right? So we're going to take this depth and we're going to divide it into the whole thing, 4,800. That's going to give me 60 foot frontage. $350 per front foot. Right here, we're going to get 21,000, sorry to say. Okay. The method of describing land by degrees, feet, and monuments is known as the meets and bounds system. Meets and bounds, right? Compass points, degrees, feet, and monuments. Meets and bounds. Number 23. The best way to ensure that there are no encroachments and verify the boundaries of a parcel of land is to get a proper survey. I think we've said that, what, 20 times now? I think that's all good. We should all know that by now. Number 24. How many acres are contained in a rectangular parcel that has 175 feet and a depth of 685 feet? Well, we want to know how many acres, right? So we're going to take our 175 feet and we're going to multiply it by 685 feet. And that's going to give us 175 times 685. And that means we're going to have 119,875. And then we're going to take our 119,875 and divide it by 43,560. All right. Divided by 43,560. And that's going to be 2.72.7519. So as close as we got is 2.75. A property is under contract for the sales price of $357,800. The buyer will assume the seller's outstanding loan balance of $225,000, secure a second mortgage for $100,000, and pay the remainder in certified funds at the settlement. On the settlement statement, the seller will be charged excise tax in the amount of, all right, we just did this, right? So we're going to take 500, we're going to divide 357,800 by 500. And it's going to come to 715.60 right here. That's not the right answer though, is it? We have to round it up to the nearest whole dollar. So the answer would be 716. The answer would be 716. If you forget to round, the answer is there for you. All right. And it's always on the wholesale price. It's not on the mortgage. It's not on the loan assumption. It is on the sales price paid by the seller. Okay. Which of the following deeds contain no express or implied warranties? All right. And this is your quitclaim deed. Remember, it says, I'm not even going to tell you if I own it. All right. The quitclaim deed. All right. Number 27. Which of the following is an essential element of a valid North Carolina deed? An essential element. Do we need a seal for a valid deed? No, we don't need to record it, and only the grantor has to sign it, but we do have to have those adequate words of conveyance to have and to hold and to distribute to their heirs from this point forward. All right, so we do need the words of conveyance to make it valid. Yep, absolutely. Doesn't take much. Number 28. Which of the following is an involuntary alienation of the property? All right, involuntary. Quitclaim, no, you volunteered to get rid of it. Inheritance. Eminent domain is what? That's the law where they take your property, right? For public use. That is the law. The act is called condemnation, but the law is eminent domain, power of eminent domain, and that is the answer. Under the North Carolina Contract, all of the following documents must be recorded to be valid against third parties and except, remember, leases less than 3 years, A, do not have to be in writing, and B, do not have to be recorded. Leases less than 3 years. Leases more than 3 years have to be both in writing and recorded. But a lease for 2 years in duration does not have to be recorded under the contract. Number 30, a title insurance policy is designed to protect the insured against events that occurred before the policy was issued. This is a backwards-looking, title is a backwards-looking insurance policy. It doesn't do anything forward. It has to do with from when you took the property backwards. It is a backward-looking policy, all right? So it occurred before. And the last one, a typical title insurance policy will usually protect the purchaser against all of the following except, all right? Now, we've talked about this before, right? So it's going to cover you misrepresentation of the true owners of the property. Yes, it'll cover you. Mistakes in recording legal documents. It'll cover you. Documents executed under fraudulent powers of attorney. Yes. But defects discoverable by a survey that was not conducted, it does not cover you. Does not cover you. And that takes us all the way through. So hopefully, see how we did. I think we got 100. So, and that gives you, should give you back all of the answers that you chose. Okay, there you go. I think we got 100. We should have been good.
If you like this video, feel free to share it with a friend. For more real estate education content, please subscribe to the channel. From all of us at Seacoast Real Estate Academy, thank you for watching.